Hi everyone, good morning. Thank you, Smos. If everyone could resub, that would be great because I haven't really streamed too much recently. And I know the subs fall off often, but hi. Okay, so I would say that plan overall was pretty good this morning. I just felt like there was some weakness when we couldn't trigger 7800 overnight, like at least 7799 retest, and there was quite a few stalls. And the fact that we could just stay stuck inside range and be digested. We also had more odds for today on the 11th to be a bit more range. And we already knew that the ranges that we discussed yesterday were between 77.51. Okay, this area here, that remains like pretty big support. And then overhead is around 78.05, 78.13. So either way, they were going to trigger one end or the other. Okay. And this morning I did mention that we still have a lot of risk on downside. For me, it seemed like a pretty obvious short off open, mainly because of where we opened, but also where we stalled. You can kind of see that, like, right, and we started stalling right beneath 7800. So I just took a short hedge for Friday expiration, but my thoughts were we still had a lot of risk this morning to the 7750s, and specifically if they can't get a zone entry. So, okay, let's review. This, to me, this looked very obvious, okay? You can see the clear failure right off open, even before the open. Like, you see how they couldn't get even over this orange line here, and we already looked at 779697. These were some calculated annual ranges too. So these stalls were pretty much one of the first giveaways. And then right when they took it beneath the zone, just into 930. Okay, something that does stand out here though is what? So even though they failed the zone right into open, what stands out to you guys? So here's the morning zone failure. We did pin at core areas yesterday too, which seemed like the case. They did a pretty good job of holding above 6.6, 6.8 yesterday night too. Remember how we had 6.8, 6.6 as support? Okay, they never really brought it back beneath there, so in the overnight session, so that was good. It kind of saved some of the room for real time. What's something that stands out from the opening range? And there's some, like right here, you can see like the stall right here, and then you can see it stalled again right here. And then even when they came to try holding 7-1, they couldn't hold. They took out 6.8. They tried pushing, came back beneath 6.6. Okay, this area here. And then you can see the final stall beneath 6.6 right here too. Okay? We did take this a little bit lower than I would have wanted. I didn't really want to breach beneath 5.1 just because heading into the channel area can start to increase odds of not even like further downside, but like kind of that choppier price action. Okay, so there are some slight failures, and it's essentially the same range that we breached beneath, that we failed to break above this morning. Okay, so the differential between here, let's say, and 5.1, and the differentials between here, let's say, and 9.8. Okay, so the offsets I would say are very, very, very similar. But what's something that is very interesting from where we opened, even though they stalled, even though they couldn't get back into the zone, this is where I confirm that short. What do you guys think? I did take a long down here at 118 just to see if they can try at least getting back over 5.5, 5.8. So far they're really struggling with 5.5. And there's 5.8. What do you guys think? You can even see like that overnight action too was kind of like within the first hour. It wasn't even really overnight, but come on, you guys. Where did we open today? It's a very simple question. And we have multi-flips this week. So we flip again on the 13th and again on the 14th. So when you have a lot of these multi-flip weeks, okay, we flipped over today. This is the one time frame that does lean more on the bear side just because it is a bit of a star reversal pattern. Okay, whereas the 5-day still has some time to reverse that. 6-day still has some time. Like, you're almost better off going a little bit lower at this point just to kind of save some of these frames that we're working with. But I think a lot of that's going to depend on where they end up closing today's session, because today's session is linked to the 17th. No one knows where we opened today. There's 20 plus of you guys watching. No one knows that we opened at 77.91. Okay, so we still opened in the zone, even though it wasn't a strong open. They still did open in this area here. Does that still give them odds to somehow, some way get back there into, let's say, not even today's session, but maybe into like midweek? Or by the 17th, right? Because if we're linked from today's date to the 17th, maybe they delay some of this until they bring us back to the zone or something into next week. And that little channel breach is the only thing that's a little bit concerning, because you have to think of it from a structural basis. So on a 4-day, while this looks bad, you're on a 6-day, you're better off going lower so that you can flag. Does that make sense? Unless you can go higher. So like the only other thing would be to actually take out the highs. That's the only way that you would void this little inside bar, right? Or negate it, because inside ranges, these are still inside ranges. We have some odds right here at 136. So I just wanted to see if they take out 77.58. So far that's looking pretty promising. We'll see. That was the first odd I had for 7758 retest. Obviously, you still need over 6.6 for any of this to progress, because what's another scenario they could end up doing today? And this is probably the scenario that you don't want to hear, but what's the scenario that they could end up doing today? If they end up holding 774851, and breaking back over 5.8 and 6.6, what's something that they could end up doing today? Which has been the theme this past week, especially into the close. And into Friday's close. Yeah, they could just make it repinnable once again at core, right? To keep things a little bit stuck. And we've seen that happen quite a bit. We had it happen a bit this morning. We had it happen overnight. We had it happen into the close. We had it happen into Friday. Okay. A lot of it's going to be relative to where they bring this range, though. I would say probably by 2:30 p.m. Because if we're still stuck beneath 6.6 by then we have some odds of still potentially entering that channel. XOM did trigger my 161.58 target this morning. I don't know if anyone was still long and then stalled. Josh, I feel like you're one of the ones that was on that. We talked about that one yesterday. Most of these digestive periods have taken more than an hour though. Like if you, even when you pay attention from lows, like from here, let's say to here, till structure finally broke down. And then even from here to here, you can kind of see until structure finally continued to break down. The range in time it took from like here to here, they're like roughly just over an hour. Okay, so this is another reason why it could take up until 2:30 for them to even progress. Nice. X1 was a really good one to swing at least short term this week. I took my cover off the 161 when they stalled. Maybe I'll look to re-enter tomorrow. This could be a pretty boring next hour period, guys, because if they end up doing very similar type price action that they did like within this range in here, then it's at the very least this can last anywhere between like 50 minutes to an hour. Okay, so we're hitting about that midpoint frame here. Okay, like from lows, like around here. Okay, to let's say here on that final stall, like you can kind of see most of these mainly took 72 minutes, which is why I marked 227, but we'll see. And that's just from structural failures, okay? Or structural breaks. Even from here, you can kind of see it's like 81 minutes. 81 minutes would be right in here. So like around that 227 to 236 period, okay? This is the midpoint. This is like the 25 minutes. So this is about halfway through that interval. So it's still an important time to see if they at least progress around like the 25 to 36 minute mark. I wanted to do a full stream today, but this kind of PA makes it very hard to just sit and talk. So I took a long off here, okay, and my goal is to try getting back to these core ranges, like maybe around 70. Where did we pin exactly yesterday? What was the exact pin yesterday? To take this back flat, like around 77, 77, 77, 78. Where do they close? 77. Yeah, 77. In those 70s, basically. Same with Friday. So like around 71 to 78. So I feel like if they want to reduce risk a little bit on some of these time frames, like that 4-day, they would take it back to core to keep it more inside range. But I feel like they can't do that if they don't break at least 6-6 during this period here. Okay? So I feel like our odds are pretty decent, and right now we're hitting about those mid frames around like the 25-26 minute mark here. So that's actually a good sign that they're doing that right now around 140, 142. especially with like these sticks. You see that on these structure breaks? You could probably also watch like the 41-minute marks just to kind of see where they progress by then too. A lot of them are just before 2 o'clock. Even that 36-minute interval I think was around 151 or something like that. And that would be like the half point of that 72. We also, another interesting thing is lows, if this ends up being lows, was right at mid-session. Okay, so that's what could keep it durational for end of session today, is that low was triggered right at mid-session at 115, which I did find interesting. So goal in mind is to see if they can at least get back to this area here as early as here, no later than here. Okay? And then that's what could give us those odds of, I feel like if they can get it to above 6-6 during this period, they have an odd of at least trying to get back into the zone. But if they struggle a little bit in this area here, and specifically like getting back over 7-1, let's say, then they'll probably make it more pinnable in these ranges in here. And that's where our max range would be limited to like 7-6, 7-8, 8-1. Does that make sense? As opposed to being 8-8, 9-1, 9-4, 9-6. Okay, I'm just going to place myself on mute. If you guys want the stream on, I could just leave it on while I do my own thing in the background. It's up to you guys. I just feel like there's not really too much to add. It's kind of straightforward in my opinion. Like I felt like the short was pretty straightforward and this long seems pretty straightforward off of 5-1. Do you guys understand the risk reward here? Like in terms of like if they do want to keep it pinnable, this would be pinnable. Okay, like maybe 7-7, 8-1. Okay. If they want to keep risk on, they would stall 5-8 and 6-6. That's what would give us odds of potentially heading into that channel. Okay. And time-wise, I would say it's relative to this 1:50 to 2:36 p.m. period. Okay? This is a more crucial period to see how long it takes them to base above 5-1 and 4-8 and to retrace back over 5-8 and 6-6. So the idea here, guys, is we need to try holding over this 5-5 area, okay? And obviously clearing 5-8, 5-9. Like, that's the pretty obvious overhead. So far they are holding over 5-5, 5-6. They're struggling a little bit around that 5-8 area, but so far they're still consolidating pretty good. They know that they have time because the higher odds are closer to this period here, around like 155, 56, 57. So, I mean, there's still a few minutes left here for them to digest if they need to, but you see how like they're kind of like barcoding here? Can you guys pick up on this PA on your own? Do you guys see these slight delays? And I might have manually calculated that wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was around 156, 157. But I would expect some sort of a structure break in the next 2 minutes or so, and that's going to obviously be either above that 5859 wall or back beneath that 5556. Okay, that's what's going to give us a very big indicator or clue on what they want to do with this PA this afternoon. Okay, if they want to progress this back over 6-6 and give us an odd of getting back to core, or if they want to keep this stuck in the means and keep us at risk of the channel. I still think odds are pretty good that they want to get us back in this area here at the very least, so we'll see. And like I said, this could be like anywhere between like 155, 56, 57. Okay. This was the more calculated point, but what do you guys think? Clear 5-9 and test 6-4. I'll set that just for a minute or two so that you guys have some time here. Can you guys vote on that, please? So we should start hitting. We should start picking up a little bit on volatility. And some price breaks. Can you guys vote on the poll there, please? I'm curious to see what you guys think. Because I would say if they can't break at this point in time, then they're going to keep us at risk of this area back in here, which recycles us during the 2 p.m. to 2:30 period. If they're going to clear, I would imagine that they don't have too much time. They would have to do it in the next like 3 to 4 minutes. Because even these, like this was a test of 5-9. There isn't really any solid close above 5825 though. Okay. I wouldn't really classify that. Can you guys hear me? I don't know if I muted my mic or not. Sorry, my tenant was talking to me. I wouldn't really classify this as like a reduction in range. I would say that this, to me, looks more like a delay. What do you guys think? Like, to me, like maybe slight reduction, but I feel like if they wanted to reduce it, they would have triggered 5-5, right? So to me, this looks more like a delay. I would say more so if they break down 5-5-5-6. But I would think specifically if they did that closer to here. So they are really trying to keep this just within this range, unfortunately. We'll see if they're able to at least get this back to retest that 5-8 area, probably closer to that 216, 218 mark. Otherwise, again, 5-1, 4-8 still remains at risk, and that's where they could take it back to the channel. See, this here, to me, that's more of a reduction, okay? You see how much more bigger the sticks became once they became closer to that 5-6, 5-8, sorry, 5-6, 5-5 area. So maybe see if they can retract some of that range, ideally by like that 204. We usually have multiple flips around 204, 207, 208, 210, 212, 216. These are generic times of day for the market. But odds for today's session are closer to around the 227 to 236 period. We'll see what they end up doing here. Okay, maybe I will take a bit of a break, not a super long one, but it does look like they want to keep it stalled a little bit. They still closed over 5-5 though, so that's good. But I think to negate some of this risk, they'd probably have to retest that 5-8, like I said, within like the next few minutes. Okay, I have to call my tenant, you guys. I'm still long. I have mine stop set back to break even in case we come back down, but this was kind of the better period that we had in terms of odds and staying delayed. But for risk wise, I would say that they at least need to retest 5-8. Even if they don't clear during this time, they at least need to try coming back in this range in here, okay, just to negate this, because they did breach 5-5. Okay, even though they closed above, they still breached beneath. So they're kind of doing the same thing. They broke it right above 5-8. They breached it right beneath 5-5. So usually market makers do that when they want to keep things a little bit stuck or delay, okay? And normally that's the case if they want to do what? Which I know isn't what you guys want to hear, but that's just how it is sometimes. That's usually the case if they want to reduce range. So, and I can already tell because they didn't clear 5-8, 5-9 and try getting to 6-1, 6-2, 6-4 during this period here, they might be reducing range this afternoon. That could start limiting range quite a bit, actually, if that's what they're going to do here, and they're going to keep it stuck within this box range in here, okay? I'm not now, though. Yeah.